Good evening, Harry.
Marlon, mate, you all right?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good stuff. 3 years gone pretty fast.
3 years. It's gone by, yeah, really quickly. I think the last time I'd spoke with you when the interview was that August.
I think it was about April time, so it was about 3 years.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, since then we had our 20th anniversary concert at the Grace, which was really lovely. We sold out there, and that was like our first concert since 2015. And then it's just been like a pretty busy time for the band in terms of recording the fourth album, Look at You All Now. So that's finally recorded. And then just about a week ago, we finished up proceedings by just doing a gig at the garage in London. And that was just to play some songs from the fourth album. So, in terms of us, Harry, pretty busy, really. In terms of our output, as you know, we've had a few years off.
Oh, nice one, yeah. Did I see something? Is that your only gig in the UK this year?
Yeah, that that'll be it. That'll be our only gig. We'll play again, hopefully in 2025 or 2026.
Better play, yeah. But yeah, as good as long as you're enjoying it, I'm sure everyone had a good time.
Yeah, it was really nice to see all the 853 Kamikaze stage diving divisional members. And we had a nice after party at a local bar called Slim Jim's. And then there was a nice flat party after that. So yeah, it was a busy night catching up with everyone when you haven't seen sort of everyone for a while. It was a bit like that at the Grace as well. It was a really busy night, just sort of seeing people that you hadn't seen since 2015, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yes. Well, yeah, cheers for agreeing to chat, mate. And thanks for, you've given some positive feedback while the pod's been going. So I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I always try to sort of, if people are being interviewed, I try and I know them, I try and give it a listen. And I've tried to put feedback on sort of Facebook to say that it's, a really nice podcast, the way it's done. And I think you interview the right people as well.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, obviously, you helped kickstart it. I think you're only the third ever guest, so
Yeah, yeah, back in the day.
be reminiscing about the podcast soon, about the early days. But yeah, I think obviously back then I was even more amateur than I am now, and I we kind of missed the the formation of the band. Really, I didn't really ask you about that. So like, how and why did the others come around, and how did it get from that point to playing Glastonbury?
Yeah. Um, well, the band itself, it's a bit of a long story in terms of how we came about. So, um, I was working in an advertising sales job, just 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And I didn't have many friends really in them days, apart from a few work colleagues. And it's just after I'd finished university. So I was going to concerts, hoping that I would meet friends, really. But I don't think concerts are sort of the best place in those days to meet people. There wasn't so much a community, and that's obviously what we tried to do with the band. I used to watch a band all the time called the Parkinsons. Do you know them?
No, I've heard a lot about them since starting the podcast. Portuguese band, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. So this is just before us. So around 2001, 2002, 2003. And I was a big fan of the Parkinsons. So I used to go and watch the Parkinsons wherever I could. And I used to go to Club for Losers that was run by Max in Camden at the Carnarvon Castle. And I used to go to the Dirty Water Club, which was run by PJ up in Tufnell Park. And after, a couple of years of watching the Parkinsons play, they would often ask me when we were hanging out together, what do you actually do? And I didn't really want to tell them that as all I did was an advertising sales job, you know. I didn't think it went down too well with anyone. So I used to say, oh yeah, yeah, I'm in a band. And I got away with that for about, I don't know, about 12 months. But Victor Torpedo, who's the guitarist in the Parkinsons, every time we met at one of his gigs, again, he would ask me, when is your band playing? Or what is the name of your band? Try and avoid the questions and just say, oh, we don't play very much. And then one day we were at Club for Losers at the Carnarvon Castle, which has been knocked down these days, actually. And I was there and talking with the Parkinsons, and in front of everybody, Victor Torpedo said, look, what is the name of your band? And I said, we're called The Others. That's how the band got its name. Then he called over Max. Now, Max was the club promoter. And he said, Max, why don't you put Dominic's band on The Others? So Max is there with like a big book. And, he goes, well, I think I can put you on in 2 weeks' time. Is that okay with you and your band? And I went like white as a sheet and just said, okay, yeah, that's fine. So now agreed to a concert. I don't even have a band. So I left the club not long afterwards, and I was walking down Camden High Street. So I phoned Jimmy, who is known as Jimmy Lager in our band. And he was in my first band in Brighton called Magneta back in the days. It was me and Jimmy. And I phoned Jimmy and I had explained the situation to him and said, well, this is what's happened. I've agreed to a concert in a couple of weeks' time. It's going to be at the Carnarvon Castle for Club for Losers. I don't suppose you'd want to be in a band with me. Jimmy agreed to the concert immediately and said, don't worry, I think I can find a bass player and a drummer. And then within those 2 weeks, we had a couple of rehearsals. We wrote 6 songs together. I stood up on stage when the night of the concert came, and we got a bit of a standing ovation from Parkinson's fans, as most people kind of knew that before me standing on that stage, I didn't have a band really. Everyone knew it was kind of a rumor, but my legendary band had never really played. So we did the concert, and we got a good round of applause afterwards. And then a guy from Domino Records came over to me after the concert and asked me when my next concert was. And I just turned on a sixpence, so to speak, and said to him, don't worry, we're playing in 1 month's time. What's your mobile number? So I got his mobile number and then said to Jimmy, Johnny, and the drummer we had at the time, we better find a venue to put us on in a month's time. And then in a month's time, we played at the Verge in Kentish Town for our second gig. So that was sort of the formation of sort of how the band came together, sorry. And then from there, we did support slots with the Parkinsons for a bit. And then we got some support slots with the Libertines for a bit. And then the Libertines broke up, and I got some support slots with Baby Shambles for their first few gigs. And then we were doing lots of concerts at Death Disco, which was Alan McGee's club night in Notting Hill. We were doing lots of concerts at the Barfly, our own nights, as well as doing the gigs at Frog. In May of 2004, This is for the Poor. Our first single came out, and it went into number 42 in the UK charts, which was unexpected. And then we got put on to the Glastonbury bill at the last minute for Glastonbury 2004, and we played the John Peel stage on the opening slot. We played to over 10,000 people, and the John Peel stage was so packed at 11 in the morning that they had to open the sides of the tent so people could watch the concert from outside. And that was our first gig at Glastonbury. Now, the footage you guys have that you've obtained from Jeff Katani, our roadie who got it from Channel 4, that footage is from the year after, where we played on the other stage at Glastonbury in 2005.
Went to Glastonbury and did a few things they shouldn't have, but we didn't film it, right?
Hello, my name's Dominic Masters, and I'm in the band The Others. We're at Shepherd's Bush Empire for our warm-up. Glastonbury Festival. Bless your cotton socks.
A few stage assaults entertain the crowd, but no time to hang about. The band then set off to Glastonbury through the night to arrive in the worst mudfest in Glastonbury history.
Oh.
Yeah, we're being followed.
Dick Shepherd, going in with Dick.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. You know where you're going.
Yeah.
Just words of wisdom, please.
Bit it's outrageous.
It's outrageous.
Totally outrageous.
Despite the stage being cancelled hours before, the boys went on to perform a stomping set.
So we're moving. We did it, and we honestly no gonna beat that.
Yeah, good. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, bless their little cotton socks.
And I just watched it again just now. It said is it the wettest Glastonbury on record or something?
Personally, I don't think so. So I myself am from Somerset, and I'm from a small village, Bridge, which is next to a really tiny city called Wells. And when we were younger, Glastonbury was about 7 or 8 miles away from where I lived. When we were young, we would go to watch the festival for my summer holidays. That was like my summer holiday, to go to Glastonbury Festival. And there was 2 years back to back in the 90s that I went and attended as a punter, so to speak. And those 2 years were so wet. And one of those years, I didn't actually have Wellington boots. And it definitely caused me some difficulties with my feet walking around in wet trainers. But you'll have to look up what years it was. But there was 2 back-to-back wet years in the 90s.
Oh, okay, fair play. So was it a bit like a homecoming then when you guys were playing, really? Did it feel like that?
It was very emotional. You got to understand, like, when you've grown up in Somerset, there wasn't many bands that you could really aspire to. So the Wurzels, which you've probably heard of, was probably Somerset's biggest band, and the Trogs. So I could always look up to the Wurzels and the Trogs, but there wasn't really much for me to look up to. So when we actually played Glastonbury in 2004 at John Peel, and we played in 2005 on the other stage, I was literally getting goose pimples going right through my body with the emotion, and just looking out into the crowd, and you can see not only sort of 853 Kamikaze Stage Diving Division that have travelled down from London and other parts that you've met them of the country, but you're looking into the crowd and you're seeing, you know, people that you went to school with, people from your county. So that was pretty emotional. And also at the same time, like when we did the 2005 Glastonbury gig, William was one of obviously our chart singles. And I hadn't seen William for a couple of years, and I didn't realise he was actually at the Glastonbury Festival. So William's just about to come on. We're just about to sort of play it, and then I sort of see through the crowd people sort of making way for this ginger-haired kid, which is William Kenny Levick, which is the song is about. I just see him, people making way for him, and he managed to get right to the front of the crowd. I had to jump off of the stage, which is quite tall off of the ground, to get down into the mosh pit where I could reach over and shake his hand. And it was just very sort of very meaningful because I didn't know he was there. And especially you're singing a song in front of 50,000 people that's dedicated to a friend that you went to school with.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what was the history with him then? So you'd not seen him for a while, but you'd written a song about him, kind of thing.
Well, we were best friends at school, and then William went on to become a doctor. And then I, at that time, was obviously touring with the band, and I'd been in the band sort of since 2002, and he was focusing on being a doctor. So he went back south because we're all obviously from the southwest, and I stayed in London and did the band.
Fair play. That's it. Yeah, that was another one I didn't ask you before, actually. The origin of that song, so that's good. And yeah, just on that video again, it said the stage you were playing was actually cancelled before you got there. Was it a risk that it was going to be cancelled for you guys as well? What was the score?
Say that again.
So on the video, it
Yeah.
says the stage you were playing had actually been cancelled before you went on. Like you were the first band to play either that day or that weekend or something because of the weather.
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think so. As far as I'm aware, Arcade Fire came on just before us. Then it was us, and then it was Baby Shambles.
Right. Okay.
So if you have a look at the running order, which I think you can find online for the other stage from 2005, we had Arcade Fire, then us, then Baby Shambles, and I think before Arcade Fire, it was Juliette Lewis's band.
Right. Okay. Maybe they just embellished the story for the video then.
Well, I think it was a different production crew because the thing was, do you know Alan Jules?
No, I think Jeff mentioned him though. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he did put a couple of comments, I think, initially on some of the YouTube videos, and he might be worth an interview with him.
Okay.
He was our roadie alongside Jeff Catani. Jeff would do a lot of the driving, and Alan would be there sort of helping out run things with the band. And Channel 4 said, look, we can't send anyone down from the production crew, but would you mind taking a camera? So Alan took the videos for 2 or 3 days, and then we gave the camera back, and then the commentary and the research was obviously just based on a few people that that went through the footage that we gave them. You know? So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like it's their version of our videos kind of thing.
Right. Okay. And yeah, just to like sum up then, where does it rank playing Glastonbury in terms of kind of the high points of the band?
Yeah, I think I don't think it could get really much better for someone from Somerset to be playing twice. Well, we played about 6 or 7 times at Glastonbury altogether over our 3 times that we've played there. But yeah, the John Peel stage 2004 and the other stage 2005 are probably the height of my happiness memories of ever doing anything with the band because it was just so connected to home, really.